This video is for anyone dealing with sagging cheeks, heavy eyelids, a soft jawline, or just a face that constantly looks tired. We're talking about tissue sagging, also known as the deformation type of aging. We'll break down what it actually is and whether you can reverse it. Plus, I'm going to share 3 root causes of this sagging that your plastic surgeon or cosmetologist will definitely keep quiet about. And, of course, I'll give you tips on how to lift it all back up. And as always, we'll wrap things up with another free exercise to lift those sagging tissues. But before we dive in, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. YouTube's algorithm is pretty strict, and when you engage, it pushes this video to more people who need to see it. Thank you so much. Now, let's dive right into what causes that sagging. Hope I don't need to explain what that actually is. Basically, it's a classic scenario where the face becomes distorted and the skin, along with the soft tissues, begins to sag, essentially sliding down towards your neckline. We often see eyelid ptosis, sagging cheeks, jowls, and ptosis of the floor of the mouth, which is commonly known as a double chin. People usually blame the skin for this mess. Like, look at that, it just bunched up and started sliding down. But the skin isn't the problem at all, and it's not due to gravitational ptosis either, which is how cosmetologists often explain it. So when you mention ptosis, do not bring up gravity. It's simply not how it works. For anyone who might be skeptical, you can look up the articles on gravity by Claude Lelouan, a world-renowned French plastic surgeon. He completely debunked the gravity theory when it comes to how ptosis is formed. Now let's look at 3 scenarios of how ptosis actually forms. The first one is the most obvious. Your facial tissues are sagging simply because they weigh too much. In other words, you're just carrying some extra weight. Even if it's just a slight overall gain, the tissue mass in your face clearly exceeds the standard anthropological norm for your somatotype. And this layer of fat is thick and heavy, and let us not forget, it is a truly huge burden. And supporting all that weight is, well, actually a very energy-intensive process for the body. So young skin can handle it, but with age, of course, our natural self-regulation isn't what it used to be. It becomes impaired. The tissues have accumulated so much wear and tear over time, and of course, they can no longer support that kind of weight. That's why everything starts sliding down the structure of your skull. And there you have it, sagging cheeks, a double chin, jowls, and those heavy nasolabial folds. And that is actually the worst part. This fat tissue used to give your face that cute, youthful plumpness and soft expressions, making you always look younger than your age. And now, that youthful look is losing shape, melting downward like ice cream. Now, let's dive into the second scenario of ptosis. It's a lot like the first one, except instead of excess fat, we're dealing with chronic swelling. And notice how this fluid gets trapped everywhere, subcutaneously, deep inside the muscles, within the fat pads, and right in the skin itself. All of this also increases the weight and volume of the tissues. Sure, when you're young, your skin is elastic enough to hold all that heavy tissue in place, but over time, unfortunately, it gives out. As a result, everything shifts downward. Ptosis takes over, leaving us with noticeable folds, bags, sagging, and that heavy, drooping lower face. But you might tell me, I don't have either of those issues, but my face is still sagging. Well, that's where our third classic scenario comes in. Let's say you have 0 swelling and no excess weight. Yet, ptosis is still there. But this time, it's not bulky folds that are hanging down. It's the skin itself. And this isn't a problem for overweight or puffy faces. It actually happens to thinner people. And it's hard to believe, but all this sagging is actually a visual illusion caused by a lack of volume. Yes, exactly. The skin looks loose and atonic, Yes, it's sagging, but the skin itself hasn't changed. The real problem lies underneath. What happened is a permanent shrinkage of the structural framework that the skin was stretched over. Instead of being long, plump, and perfectly toned, the muscles have become short and shrunken. To give you the best analogy for this process, think of the lining of a coat after severe shrinkage. Look, the lining has shortened, so you're not surprised when the outer fabric begins to buckle and pucker, right? It's the exact same thing here. The lining of the coat, our muscle fibers, have often shortened by up to 30%. That is massive. And now, our skin bubbles and puckers, just like that suit fabric. So remember, without a long, voluminous muscle framework, there's no structural support for our skin to drape properly. But once we restore the muscle tissue, the skin will gratefully smooth itself out over the new surface area. So those are the 3 ultimate true causes of ptosis. But what's the game plan? Honestly, there's so much we can do. And best of all, it's completely free. Let's count them down. Method number 1, and the absolute best way to lift your tissues, is elementary. Lose weight. After that, all your efforts should go into keeping that optimal weight stable. And this has to become your lifestyle, completely without all those ups and downs. And most importantly, don't even think about dropping weight fast right now or going on an extreme diet just to get rid of facial sagging. Neither your body, nor especially your face, will simply ever forgive you for it. It is a very questionable experiment. First of all, rapid weight loss makes your skin sag and become lax. If you want to slim down, do it gradually, slow and steady. Drop a tiny bit of weight each month. Second, we're doing everything to keep your skin from ballooning with excess fluid and swelling. If you're constantly puffy or holding water, you need to address it. Start with a medical checkup to test your thyroid, heart, and kidneys. And what also is very vital to note, you have to remember and you need to trigger that muscle pump every single day to keep fluids moving and your muscles actively working. You need to fire up your metabolism through cardio, fast-paced games, or sports. And as soon as that fluid drains, your facial tissues will naturally lift and tighten up. Isn't that incredible? You don't need to do anything extra. Just remember the number 1 rule. Again, puffiness, much like excess weight, must be flushed out slowly and gradually. Which means, if you rush to drain all that fluid in just a couple of weeks, your skin simply won't be able to snap back and keep up with the loss of volume. There's absolutely no need to rush. Take baby steps and track your progress in the mirror. And if you notice that your face is starting to look too thin, drop your depuffing routines immediately. Take a break, let your face recover, and then you can start over. Well, hope that makes sense. And next, I would like to talk about tip number 3. This one is for everyone, no matter your age, weight, or build. If you want a happy, smooth face, the last thing you should do is yank on that poor, sagging skin. See the beauty of it? Here's what you need to do. Expand the area it is stretched over. For example, to remove the overhang of the skin and on the extra eyelid, we need to reduce the hypertonicity of the orbicularis oculi muscle. To get rid of nasolabial folds, you need to fix the tightness and shortening of your cheek muscles. Your jaw muscles got to work on those. In other words, you need to lengthen them, restore that original surface area, and release the underlying muscle frame. And then, like magic, the skin over those relaxed muscles will smooth out on its own. Honestly, I'm not reinventing the wheel here or saying anything crazy. This is exactly how Botox works, after all, but we don't want to walk around with a frozen face, do we? That's why we're replacing these methods with purely physiological ones. Every Revitonica technique focuses on one goal: reviving tired muscles with love and care to let your facial structure naturally restore itself. You see that sagging skin isn't a death sentence or a reason to give up on your goals. On the contrary, it's a reason to take action. Now we're going to do a technique with instant, incredible results, and it's specifically designed to lift the jawline. What does it do? It restores the muscle tissue right under your chin. Just look in the mirror. To do this, you need to check the amount of tissue before the exercise. Simply take a skin muscle fold, remember how much you caught in that pinch, and do the same thing after you're done. Trust me, you'll get an instant lifting effect. But that's easier said than done, right? So right now, let's dive into the technique called jawline lifting. Get ready to be amazed. Place your thumbs on the tip of your chin. Press your tongue against the roof of your mouth and hold that tension. Roll your thumbs down to where your chin meets the neck, then return to the starting position and fully relax your tongue. During the pass, feel a constant resistance from the muscle fibers. Gently press as you knead the tissue with your fingers. Repeat the gliding cycle until you get a release and softening of the muscles, as if the submental area has opened up with more space. It is quite possible that this process will take a minute or two of your time. You should gradually increase the amount of pressure you apply and then work your fingers deeper and deeper into the tissue. That's great. Just relax, breathe in, and then breathe out. Now, move from the center to the corner of your jaw. With each cycle, press your tongue against the roof of your mouth, then relax completely. Keep working like this for 1 to 2 minutes. Please make sure your body, arms, neck, and face are relaxed. Working symmetrically is key for muscle balance. Muscles often contract in pairs and hold tension on both sides, which is why we need to work on both sides to fix it. Great job! That's it for this powerful practice. Thanks for your work. Your jawline contours become sharper and smoother, and the underjaw area itself feels more open and deep. This practice takes just 2 to 3 minutes. That's more than enough to trigger a chain of recovery reactions. You can do a few sets in the morning, afternoon, or evening, fitting it flexibly into your daily schedule. Just don't overdo it. Doing it less often helps us avoid the risks of sudden lymphatic drainage I mentioned earlier. As you can see, everything looks pretty promising. Don't forget to check out the description below this video. That's where you'll always find the latest Revitonica news and, of course, plenty of other free exercises. I hope you enjoy it. See you next time.